Imagine the power goes out tonight, not for an hour, not until morning, but for days. Streetlights disappear. Traffic signals stop working. Gas stations can't pump fuel. Grocery stores empty within hours. And cell service becomes unreliable as backup systems begin to fail. Now imagine opening your emergency supplies with complete confidence. You spent months researching the best survival gear. You watched countless reviews. You bought products with thousands of 5-star ratings. Then, just when you need them most, your most expensive piece of equipment doesn't perform the way you expected, not because it's defective, not because you used it incorrectly, but because it was designed for convenience, not for surviving a prolonged emergency. That's a mistake many first-time preppers make. Modern survival gear is marketed to solve almost every problem. Portable power, smart water filters, solar charging, GPS navigation. The advertisements make it look as if the right purchase can eliminate uncertainty. Real emergencies don't work that way. The truth is, experienced preppers rarely ask, "What's the newest piece of gear?" Instead, they ask a much more important question. What happens when this stops working? That mindset changes everything. It's why many longtime preppers quietly avoid certain technologies that beginners rush to buy. Not because those products are scams. Not because technology has no place in preparedness. But because experience teaches that every piece of equipment has limitations. And those limitations usually appear at the worst possible moment. Today, we're looking at two technologies that many experienced preppers think twice about relying on during a serious crisis. These products can still be useful. In fact, many people own them already. The problem begins when people mistake them for complete solutions instead of useful tools. Let's start with one of the fastest growing products in the survival industry, technology. 1. Cheap solar power stations. Walk through any outdoor store or browse survival videos online, and you'll see the same recommendation again and again. Buy a portable solar power station. On paper, it sounds like the perfect emergency solution. Store electricity in a rechargeable battery, connect a solar panel, and continue powering your essential devices even if the electrical grid goes down. For short emergencies, that's often true. If the power is out for a few hours, or even a day, a quality power station can be incredibly useful. It can keep phones charged, run LED lights, power a CPAP machine overnight, or operate a small fan during hot weather. The problem isn't the technology. The problem is the expectations people build around it. Many first-time buyers assume a portable power station can keep an entire household running for days. Physics says otherwise. Most entry-level power stations store between 250 and 500 watt-hours of energy. Mid-range models may offer 1,000 to 2,000 watt-hours, but even those have limits. To understand what that means, consider a common household refrigerator. While it's running, it often uses 100 to 200 watts, and when the compressor starts, it can briefly demand several times that amount. Even a large battery can lose a significant portion of its charge surprisingly quickly. Then there's recharging. Advertisements usually show bright sunshine, perfectly angled solar panels, and batteries filling effortlessly. Throughout the day, real life is rarely that cooperative. Cloud cover can reduce solar output to 10 to 30% of its rated capacity. Winter days are shorter, trees cast shadows, dust, and dirt slowly reduce efficiency. A few consecutive cloudy days can leave you generating far less power than you expected. That's when many people discover the difference between emergency backup power and long-term energy independence. Another issue is the flood of inexpensive power stations entering the market. Many advertise enormous battery capacities at prices that seem almost too good to be true. Sometimes those claims are accurate, sometimes they aren't. Battery chemistry, inverter quality, heat management, and long-term durability vary dramatically from one manufacturer to another. Two products with nearly identical specifications on paper can perform very differently after a year of regular use. That's one reason experienced preppers rarely shop by price alone. They pay close attention to reliability, warranty support, and independent long-term testing rather than flashy marketing claims. Even premium brands aren't immune to limitations. Whether it's a budget model or a high-end unit from companies like Jackery, EcoFlow, or Bluetti, every battery eventually runs out. No manufacturer can change. That the most experienced preppers understand. Something beginners often overlook, a power station, isn't a survival plan. It's one tool within a larger system. They reduce electricity consumption instead of assuming they'll always be able to generate more. They choose LED lanterns over power-hungry. Lighting, manual tools whenever possible, rechargeable. AA batteries. Power banks for smaller electronics. Simple. Equipment that performs its job without constantly depending on electricity. Because every watt you don't use is a watt you don't have to replace. That's a small shift in thinking, but it makes a huge difference during a prolonged emergency. Preparedness isn't about owning the most advanced technology. It's about knowing exactly where technology's limits begin, and there's another technology that creates an even greater illusion of security, one that millions of people depend on every single day without questioning it. We'll look at that next. Technology. Number 2, the smartphone trap. The second technology on the Prepper Blacklist isn't something you keep in a bug-out bag. In fact, you're probably holding it right now, your smartphone. For most people, it's become the center of everyday life. It replaces maps, wallets, cameras, flashlights, notebooks, radios, and even family photo albums. It stores passwords, emergency contacts, medical information, banking apps, and years of personal data. It's one of the most powerful tools ever created. But in a real emergency, its biggest strength can also become its biggest weakness. Most people think of a smartphone as a single device. It isn't. It's the final link in a long chain of systems working together behind the scenes. It needs electricity to recharge. It relies on cell towers to make calls. Many of its apps require an internet connection. Cloud storage depends on remote servers. Even GPS navigation becomes much less useful if offline maps weren't downloaded beforehand. As long as those systems keep running, your phone feels almost limitless. But remove just a few of them, and that confidence disappears surprisingly fast. We've seen this happen after hurricanes, wildfires, earthquakes, and widespread blackouts around the world. People reach for their phones expecting instant information. Instead, they see failed calls, delayed messages, and no service across the top of the screen. The phone didn't fail. The infrastructure behind it did. Many cell towers include backup batteries, but those batteries usually keep the site running for only 4 to 8 hours. Larger towers may have diesel generators, but generators still require fuel deliveries and regular maintenance. If roads become blocked or fuel supplies are interrupted, even those backup systems eventually shut down. When that happens, millions of smartphones become isolated at exactly the moment people need them most. That's why experienced preppers never assume help is only one phone call away. Instead of relying entirely on digital tools, they prepare simple backups that don't require electricity or a network. A folded paper map can guide you anywhere. Without a signal, a written contact list still works after your battery dies. A compass never loses reception. A battery-powered or hand-crank emergency radio can continue receiving official broadcasts long after social media goes silent. Some even keep printed first aid guides, emergency checklists, and local evacuation routes inside waterproof folders. None of those items are exciting. They don't have touchscreens. They don't receive software updates, but they'll still work years from now. Whether the internet exists or not, that's the kind of reliability experienced preppers value. They don't reject technology. They simply refuse to become dependent on it. So what do these two technologies have in common? On the surface, almost nothing. One stores electricity, the other stores information. But both can create the same dangerous illusion that one device can solve every problem. Preparedness doesn't work that way. A portable power station is incredibly useful, but it's still limited by battery capacity, weather conditions, and charging time. A smartphone is one of the greatest tools ever invented, but it's only as reliable as the infrastructure supporting it. The smartest preppers understand that no piece of technology is perfect. Instead of searching for a miracle product, they build systems with backups, alternatives, and simple tools that continue working when modern conveniences disappear. That's the real lesson behind the Prepper Blacklist. It's not about avoiding technology. It's about understanding its limits before you're forced to depend on it. Because when everything is working, almost any piece of gear looks impressive. The real test comes when nothing goes according to plan. So before buying your next survival gadget, ask yourself one simple question. If this stops working tomorrow, what's my backup? If you have a clear answer, you're already thinking like an experienced prepper. And if you don't, now is the perfect time to start. If you enjoyed this video and want practical preparedness advice without the hype, subscribe and join us for the next breakdown. Because in survival, expensive gear doesn't keep you alive, good decisions do.